Today's August 20th, 2025. And so, to you, my grandchildren, I want to give you probably the third piece of family wisdom that is most crucial. And that is to use the scientific method. I'm going to tell you how. I think because it comes upon me that I need to remind myself of these dynamics and factors. As I woke up, it's going on 12:30 now, you know. And I took a Benadryl and something else the doctor gave me for allergies. I tell you, man, it gets it's hot. Now I got one fan running, and the other one's turned off, so it won't make too much noise. But the thing is, you know, I've been struggling in my mind about. I was thinking I put up on some new billboards. They're bigger than signs. Okay, I painted three sheets of half-inch plywood. I primed them already, and you know, I got some 4x16s, and I was going to you know, do like a little thing, just make like a fictitious resume for the first dictator of the United States of America. You know, make it like a resume. And of course, you know, all I gotta do is take case history and stuff in the news right now, and this is stuff that Donald Trump has done, and he'd fit the bill. I was gonna say, I wasn't gonna put his name on there. I was gonna say on the title of the resume, guess who? And then list all the things, you know, for work experience and for the you know, in a resume you gotta. I haven't done a resume in a long time, but you know, like the first line, you know, should have to do with the purpose for the job that you're, you know, trying to get. And then you put your you know, you might put your education, but you got to put your work experience on there. And you know, they tell you, you know, it's not just your work experience. That would be like a vita, but you got to put how you have actually benefited the country. If you were planning to be the first dictator of the United States of America, you know, you'd have to actually put case examples of how you actually did a superb job in making this happen. All right, the use of disinformation would be one, and then using tyranny, you know, would be another. And you know, you go on down the list. You know, Trump has proven himself to be a dictator and to love dictators. I don't even have to go into all that. Maybe you look in the news for this era, you'll find it. And then I was, I think a little correspondent with my buddy Tim, a little bit, and you know, he kept just going back, just telling me like, just simply, you know, he's wiping his ass with the Constitution of the United States, and wanting me to say that, you know, like, I swore an oath, because I mean I did, you know, swore an oath to uphold and defend, at home and abroad, the United States Constitution of America and his people. And I made good on that promise, on that oath. But I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. And I told him back, I referred to Tweeter and the Monkey Man, you know. Tweeter went to China, went to Vietnam, and found out that nobody gives a damn. And it's like, I made a little 5-minute talk to reference some of those conversations, I sent him, and I put it on, my channel, just, for the record, But then I started thinking, no, well, okay, based on that set of conversations, I have to put a want ad. And the want ad would, of course, have to come from Putin. Need somebody to sow discord in America and tyranny, and divide America from within, and then we'll conquer. Yeah. Donald Trump's resume fits the bill. Okay, but then he started, telling me other stuff like, stuff I need to remember. I need to safeguard myself. And I didn't really think much of it, I was thinking, look, man, I'm going to go ahead and do this. But then I went to sleep, and, midday, just got tired, went to sleep for a while, and woke up and realized I gotta do it this way. I got a mission. I got a complaints violation, and I mean these ICE raids and some of the other stuff that I've mentioned, they're unacceptable. It is non-American. It's from a very, very bad choice in presidents that America made. They got to be stopped. This can't go on. And then the resolution, and that fits the glove. That's the hand that fits the glove of the Declaration of the United States of America. The Declaration of the United States of America. And he's wiping his ass with it. So look, I got the Declaration of the United States of America right here on this phone, and I'm gonna read you the first area. And so the thing that I'm doing at first, I was thinking, well, I'm gonna have to hire somebody who can paint the letters, and I'm gonna have to put the Declaration of the United States of America in an abbreviated form on a big billboard in my yard. So it goes like this. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. These are the first 13 colonies. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the nurture of and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, and I just got to tell you, with my thinking about the scientific approach, and this is family wisdom. Benjamin Franklin was when Thomas Jefferson was in discourse with Benjamin Franklin because they were friends, just like I'm friends with Tim. And so he consulted Benjamin Franklin, and he said, look, you read this, what I have written, and you add to it, or you modify it at your will, what you think. And Benjamin Franklin said, and take out the part where you say these things are sacred and undeniable. Sacred and undeniable. And he said change it to self-evident. And that is the scientific method of what is evident. So, and Benjamin Franklin, you know, he's a well-rounded person, and he's like Jacob in the Coat of Many Colors. You know, he had a lot of colors in his life. You know, and you know, he on his epitaph, you know, he wanted to just say Ben Franklin, a printer, because that's where he learned. That's where he learned. You know, he started working for a printing shop, and I think it was his brother's printing shop, maybe. And and he started reading, and then he started writing. And he was an experimenter, you know. He has experimented. I think he's actually, you know, the person who really discovered electricity from the kite and the key, and the electricity, static electricity going through the string of the kite, like that, you know. Like they probably teach that in school. I haven't read it in a long time, but you can see this stuff on YouTube, and you should learn from Benjamin Franklin, because he was a person who utilized the scientific method. And the scientific method is a method of experimentation, and you make a hypothesis, and then you test your hypothesis, and that's what we do. You know, in the Bible it says, one man's countenance sharpens another man's, or woman. I mean, you know, and so it's what we have to test what we believe. We got to put it to the test. That's a scientific method, and you have to have collaboration. You know, one person is not sufficient for any monumental task. I mean, you have to stand on the shoulders of the greats. You know, your parents, Benjamin Franklin, he's one of the greats. The people that formed the Constitution and signed it, those original, you know, people signed their life to that declaration and to that resolve. And so, you know, I'm thinking, you know, I gotta have my mission. Okay, I got my mission. I got my the complaint of violations. You know, to register my complaint, and then my resolution, my declaration. And it just so happened when I pulled out a shirt, I pulled out this one with the eagle and the stars. These are probably 13 stars on the shirt. We're 13 original colonies when the Declaration was formed in 1776. Yeah, we'll read a little bit more. Okay, so this is the second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain undeniable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate the governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, I don't know if it's usurpations or usurpations. Anyways, when you usurp authority that don't belong to you. Pursuing invariable the same object, which has a capital O, the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries, usurpations, as having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And then he goes on here with the complaints against the Britain King. And these complaints, these are like reminiscent, like that will remind you of what Trump is doing in America right now. All right. And then I should at least read the last part. And then he goes on in his discourse on how the attitude, toward this. Okay. So after all the complaints and stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff in here, but I can't read the whole thing. You should read it, and you better read it. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be free. Ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from an allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. No. Look, pledge your life and hold your sacred honor. Okay, this is family wisdom. This is family wisdom. Going all the way back to Benjamin Franklin and the 13 signers and Thomas Jefferson. I think one of the guys' name is Adams. I don't really remember everything perfectly, but look, I come to the conclusion through the scientific method of what I got to do. And okay, and the last part of the scientific method is, see, you got, this is what I was starting with my buddy Tim. You got you got it's called dialectic, and this comes from Hegel. You know, I think Hegel is after Thomas Jefferson. I'm pretty sure. You know, but anyway, he I mean Benjamin Franklin, but but Hegel, or he could have been before. I don't really know. But I know his name was Hegel, and he is the one who put into writing, you know, this observation of the scientific method, and it is that you have a dialectic, and so you have two truths, and then out of those two truths you get a synthesis. Okay, you get a thesis, an antithesis, and a synthesis. Okay, and it's kind of like, you know, two opposites, you know, and then out of those two opposites you get a synthesis. You got to look for it, and that's what I had to do. I had to look for the synthesis of my inner struggle and what I was trying to grapple with, and what I have to do, what life compels me to do, what my heart compels me to do. And my heart now, the synthesis, is that I got to either make my own, form my own Declaration of Independence based on the 13th Colony Declaration of Independence, 1776, signed July 4th, or just put parts of the original one. You know, I could, you know, make a more contemporary one that would. But look, I mean, in my theological training and stuff, I mean, that's what the whole thing was. You know, you take from the past and you interpret it for the present. That's why you got to study history, and you got to study the Bible in its context, and you got to study life in its context. You can't impose upon something a truth that is never meant to be, or never that object lesson or that experience in life was never meant to teach. And this is like, okay, when like Trump right now, you know, he wants to remodel in the history of the United States of America, you know, like the Smithsonian, you know, he's putting them under review. He wants to change the way they present things. He wants to change history, and that's what tyrants do. Tyrannical governments do. You know, they wipe out the history, and then they say what the history was. But no, they knew what the history was. Okay? I hope you understand that. You, my grandchildren, I hope you get this message. This is real legit family wisdom. All right. I wouldn't be even saying this right now if I didn't have hope for the right thing. All right, bye.